Hello, my friends. I'm Rachel Archelaus, founder of the Intuitive Art Academy. Hello, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Carrie Roldan. Just amazing being your business BFF as well. And I've leaned on her a lot this week. So we're here today to talk about multidimensional living. What the heck is it? Why would you want it? And I'm really ready to evolve this conversation and help you see how it's applicable to your everyday life. Because, I grew up psychic. I could see beings. I could talk to my family. I was like the one at the family parties translating for my family who's alive, for my family who's dead, like what everyone's talking about. And spreading the good news. And I'm always the one, people walk up to me at funerals and ask me like how their people are doing. And I can speak to extraterrestrials, and I was a psychic in so many ways. And even I couldn't imagine my life without all of that, but I didn't know how it really affected me living day to day, going to work, etc. And I have a much clearer picture of that now. And so I think it's going to be a fun conversation. I think it might inspire you to tap in more to yourself, because everyone has this. Everyone's multidimensional. We got a bunch of people here already. It's a great turnout. So I'm excited. But Carrie, hello.
Well, hey, and hey, everybody who's joining us. And those of you who don't watch us week in and week out, I have the opposite story of Rachel, which is I did not grow up openly psychic, or even like I grew up kind of, I think, being told that that wasn't real, and that like fortune tellers are scam artists, and yet was super intuitive, had knowings about things, had a very strong sense of self and of internal knowing, which I've now learned. Rachel and I are both INFJs, and that is part of maybe my makeup. But anyways, I'm saying that because whether you are Rachel, who grew up like translating, grew up seeing dead people and translating for her living relatives, or if you grew up like me, we are all living multidimensionally. Like, we can't not do it. And Rachel, it's so funny that we're talking about this today. So those of you who know I coach high school cross country athletes, and on my trip from where we meet to my car today, I was listening to a couple of the guys talk, and they were talking about the fourth dimension and time travel and like stuff like that, and I was just like giggling, thinking like I didn't even get in the conversation except for to say, but we're in the fourth dimension now. And then one of them was like, but the fourth dimension is time. And like, I was like, all right, but here's the point. We are all living multidimensionally. And this is a great big group of nerds that I absolutely love. So maybe not every high school kid is talking about this, but like the world is moving in the direction of acknowledging, Rachel, you talk about it all the time, like, we're pretty much out of 3D. So we're here. We've been multidimensional always, and we're stepping into more and more awareness of it. And I think this conversation is around how do we do this well and deliberately?
Yeah. Well, first of all, hey, Corinne and Judith and Guillaume and Gina Maria and everyone watching and not able to type in the chat. Hello. So I'm just excited that people are interested in this. I've had this evolution of like back when I was a teenager, there were maybe one publisher that would even broach any of these topics, which was Llewellyn. If you all remember Llewellyn, they had books on astral projection and like it wasn't even psychic development. Like they didn't have a compendium on that. There was like, I don't know, just the stuff that felt really out there, right? And none of it was really that practical. it was like, get in your white light bubble and have your, angels surrounding you. And it's all fabulous, but it's become so much more mainstream than that. I mean, just even tracking the word intuition over time, it is a daily occurrence for people, even very analytical people, to use the word intuition and to have it be their number one secret to success, right? Like, Mark Cuban is one of the most superstitious people I've ever seen. He's on Shark Tank and he uses the word intuition. And I just really love how we have come to this agreement, subconsciously pretty much, that we are multidimensional beings and that relying on that part of us more enhances our lives exponentially. And yet we haven't yet come into the awareness that that's what we're doing, but it is happening. And I'm excited about it. Like this, I feel like this is why I'm alive. So it's very exciting to me to see it happen. And you are all here because of that, because you know that, because you can feel that. And I mean, I said it in the email, but my premise in all of this, how I think it can work in like a diagram style, right, is that if you picture the sun as source or the origin of all energy, right, like the all that is, there's the sun, and then we are all sunbeams, and we are here on earth. So you can imagine the sun and the earth, and the sunbeam touches the earth, and there's our personality self, there's our body, right? But between the earth and the sun is all the other dimensions. We exist in all of those at the same time. When I used to do more readings, one of the things I would do is tell people what they're doing on all those dimensions, because we are employed, we have jobs, we have purposes, we have families, we have so much going on multidimensionally. And it's really fascinating. When you are asleep, you go and join your multidimensional self in various places because you don't need to be in your body full time to stay alive. Like we are so integrated and connected beyond what we usually think of, because we don't need to think of that here. It's not necessary. So it's just really fun. And I'm wondering, what do you guys want to talk about this? What do you want to know? And I really, really, really want to tell them what's going on, Carrie. What do you think? We have a secret.
Well, it's not a secret if you tell them. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it. I think it might be good to help give it some legs, some structure. And I will tell you that the minute you said I used to tell people what they did on other dimensions, I was like, what? Why have you not told me what I'm doing in other dimensions? So purely selfishly, I'm like, I kind of want to know. Yeah, let's talk about all of it.
Okay. Well, hey, Crazy Pup, thanks for coming. Okay. You can see me. Look at me. I'm like so excited about this. I feel like I'm already Intimate Alien. So you guys can probably relate to this, right? Even though I have all these connections, it's not like I'm still living a linear life in many ways, because I'm choosing to be mostly focused here on Earth, and that's what we signed up for. But I've always wondered, why do I have so many separate things going on? My Intuitive Art Academy, Intimate Alien, my personal stuff, my art, my books, like all the other things I'm doing. It's all the same because it's me. And I know a lot of you feel the same way. You're like, I'm multifaceted. I'm a multi-potentialite. Why? Why does it feel weird? Right? Sometimes it feels perfect, but sometimes it feels weird, like something else is missing. And so the other day, I was just doing some flowing, some dreaming, some processing. Actually, my intuitive art told me what to do. And I realized, I'm the bigger picture here is that I'm actually creating the Archelaus Institute of Multidimensional Living. Now, we're not selling you anything here. Like, I'm going to be creating a crowdfunding campaign probably, but I'm just telling you, like, my life just made sense in an instant. Like an instant. I was like, oh, there is a bigger thing for me. There is. It makes so much sense. And once I got that idea, I have just been so excited, so clear, so integrated, and really realizing how this topic is my topic. This is it. This is so exciting. It marries every single thing I've ever done in my entire life. And the fact that so many of you are showing up live today just shows me, like, you're already with me. You're already here. We're already doing this. So it's just so exciting. And thank you, Gina Maria, for your wow. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun watching. So Gina Maria, I am like you. When I am participating, when I'm actively participating in anything, I can't stop like writing in the comments. So love you, feel you. Thank you for your comments. Like I love watching the flow of like, oh, this is where you were in the conversation. Rachel, this is not a surprise to me. It's not even like news to me. But I got to tell you guys in the sharing, oh, I'm going to yawn talking about. As this came in from Rachel, like in the sharing of the feeling of it, like toward my logical mind, it's like, oh, yeah. That's what I've always seen. But to like energetically, physically, what happened in my body as I was leaning into that. Oh, Gina wants to unmute and be right here with us. I feel you.
You are. We can feel you. We can hear you.
Yes. But I like felt all the bigness, all that, like, oh, I'm gonna yawn again as you're talking about, oh, like life just made sense in an instant. I mean, those are the feelings. And I have questions for you about how you got there. These aren't really questions, you guys, because I already know the answer because I was like with her on the whole journey of how she got there. But I think it's valuable talking about it. I think it's valuable talking about the way you, as Abraham says, let go of the oars, right? In order to receive, this is multidimensional living, right? In order to receive the fullness of this, which I fully recognize you are still receiving. What did you do?
Well, lucky for us, we live in the space of allowing. And I did all the things that we teach in Aligned Up Level. I meditated much more than usual because I could feel when I was getting to that kind of like, ooh, desperate need to know feeling. And I'll tell you that this really started, though, from my inner drive to share more about living multidimensionally, like on Instagram and on YouTube and everything, and feeling like I needed a container that didn't exist. I kept feeling like I want to share, but I don't know where to share it. I don't know how to share it. And my friend Dina, which she passed away, she did a reading for me right before she died. That was like, it showed that topic and me was a literal rocket ship to diamond space. Like, it was amazing. And she pulled that card from one of her new decks, and it was a card that she actually drew, but she randomly picked that card. It was amazing. And then when she died and I kept talking to her, I was realizing, like, this is a big part of my daily life, like receiving insights from her and getting her guidance as to like what to focus on, and her reminding me of like how powerful and wonderful we all are, really helped me. And then I found this house, which I'm actually purchasing for the business, for the institute. It's our in-person hub, which I've never had before, but it feels so right to have a hub for all of us, to have retreats and classes at. I found that house and I just couldn't let it go. It possessed me, and in the best ways, and is like, hey, this is for you. And I just kept wanting it more and also having to process that. Like, how do you process something that you want that you can't just instantly purchase with what you already have? Right? Which there is a way I could, but it's just sometimes we're led down a different path. And I was wanting to sync up with the path. And I was also realizing that I needed more clarity on what I'm actually doing because I have felt so kind of off about all the things that I do. They need to go somewhere. So there's this theme. I have all this stuff, it needs to go somewhere. And here's a place where things can go. And so I have my intuitive art drawing here. So I was meditating more. I was throwing up the oars. I was getting surrendered. I was daydreaming. And that's what this told me to do. My higher self was, I asked, what next? In one of those moments of, where do I go? What next? And I got this beautiful aligned cloud. And so I dreamed, and I dreamed up that this place is our headquarters and that all the things that I do go underneath this institute. And it's named the Archelaus Institute, not even just because of me, but because I was given that name from my guides many, many years ago. And Archelaus is an ancient philosopher who was actually the last teacher of Socrates. He's the last pre-Socratic philosopher. And he talked a lot about how there's polarity in the world. There is heat and there is cold, and that makes physical things. And so there's just such a rich history here with all of this. It literally feels like everything collided in that one moment. And I've never been so excited about anything in my entire life. And also never felt so in the right place at the right time. Like, I've interviewed and become friends with so many of the leading thought leaders in this world, and they're amazing people. And I've always kind of felt like, where am I in that? And like, I have all of this stuff to share, but I always felt like I was just watching everybody, which felt wonderful and fine, except that I knew I was supposed to also be there. And I think this is just, here it is, it's popped, and I'm really excited about it. So I feel like I just talked about me a lot, but in talking about me, I'm really talking about all of you, because I've spent my time doing for the past 20 years is just being with all of you and like learning about what you want to know and teaching you how to be your multidimensional self in so many ways. So yeah.
Well, one of the best ways you can do that is to talk about you and to talk about what you're going through and to talk about, this whole process. So Gina Maria had a question that I want to get to, which she said, could you feel this coming?
Yes. And I felt it coming by knowing that something was missing. And that's an interesting thing, right? Like, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I don't know, as long as I've known Carrie, I've been in her mastermind, and I've been coming and showing up every once in a while, maybe once or twice a year, being like, everybody, what is missing? I'm like, these are all the things I do. How do they go together? What do they do? And I never had an answer. It was always perfect. I always let it go. I was like, all right, it's all me. It's all me. It's fine. It's all me. But I just knew something was missing. I didn't know it would be this. So if you want to talk about blind spots, that's kind of what this was. But also, I feel like it wasn't ready yet. So this is one of the things of, being psychic, having multidimensional access. You can feel things before they're ready. And that can be really challenging, especially for someone like me. I'm just ready to go. Like, I'm a self-starter. I don't need anybody's permission. I'll just go and do the thing. But sometimes you're just supposed to know, and there's no action to be taken. So I feel like in all the meditating and the aligning and the like giving up, the surrendering that I've been doing over the past month, that has allowed me to receive this, because this is it doesn't even feel big anymore, but it did it in the beginning. It felt like this is a big undertaking. Now it just feels right because I've let it come in. But if you're feeling in your own life, like, I know there's something bigger for me, but I don't know what it is, it's really about getting out of your own way and aligning with that, right? Meditate, raise your vibration, let go of your limiting beliefs, like take the aligned up level. Maybe we should do that again. Like it's all about you aligning with what you want, which means disaligning with the things that are keeping you from it.
So it's so funny that you said that, because earlier you're like, we're not selling you anything. And then you mentioned the aligned up level. And I was like, oh yeah, we need to do that again. Because that going through that process was so valuable for both of us, right? This is one of those beautiful things. Like, we think we're doing it for somebody else, and then we go through and we're like, oh, this was so for us. Yes, yes, yes. And you hit something important for me, which was feeling like there's something big for you, knowing that it's coming. I can tell you how not to live multidimensionally, how to not do it, would be to then try and push it, to then, which has been my MO for a long time, or to get impatient, to get frustrated with myself for not having figured it out yet, for feeling like it's right in front of me. Why can't I see it? I have spent way too many years being there. And someone just interviewed me for something else, and I was helping them get their marketing language. And so they were like, what is your biggest struggle, or your biggest, like, what's your biggest problem or something right now? And I was like, for me, it's like, from this enlightened place, from living where I live, still being impatient, right? Like, still being impatient. And so one of the things that you did really, really well, and you continue to do really well, is mitigate those feelings of impatience with, you give yourself and your body and your brain something to do with that impatience, besides research or pushing or forcing or like making a million phone calls. I mean, sometimes that's what you're guided to do, but I am remembering that for a great portion of this, you've been like, yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to just lie around. And so thank you for sharing that with me, because that has helped me to relax, to remember that relaxing is how it all happens.
Yeah, I know. Gina Maria, I love it. So I'm glad you feel so at home, and we will tell you all about the aligned up level when Carrie and I figure out when it is, because we don't know. But I just want to talk about this. I feel something coming, but it's not from missing, it's from having the pieces fall into place. And that is what I knew would happen. So I would have these feelings of like, there's something else here. I don't know what it is, which it feels like missing. But then if I wasn't able to receive it, then talking about it, I would just let it go, because I do have all the pieces. So that's what I mean. It's like having access to your multidimensional self means that you know what is in your vortex. You know your future. You feel your potential. Your potential feels really real to you. And you can probably feel the potential of others too. And you have to walk this line of letting yourself get there, and loving the process, and loving the journey, and loving the unfolding, and like letting it descend at the right time when you're in sync with it, and like I think when I was in my 20s, I was like the typical, okay, I haven't written a book yet, and I haven't gotten famous yet, and I haven't blah blah blah, right? Like I had this life is passing me by kind of feeling. But then in my 30s, I over time got a lot better at being like, oh, life itself in this moment is grand. It's amazing. And luckily I had a lot of that inherently. And so even in my 20s, it wasn't my dominant thing. But like when you live multidimensionally, you live in paradox. And that's the fourth dimension. And you have to get used to that. It's a very cool way to live because you feel all these energies all around you, all of this possibility, but the possibility is complete because you only exist in one moment and whatever you've asked for is done. But also being okay with what is right in front of you in this moment here on this plane. So it's a lot of management of energy that takes time to get used to, but is totally worth it. I've seen Carrie go through a really big transformation in this since maybe we even started coaching together until now. Like lots of more understanding and ease and flow, and lots more lying around and watching things and giving yourself space. And it makes a huge difference.
I feel like we can talk about that.
Hmm.
Interesting, though, as you were talking, things came up for me. And yes, paradox is wildly fun. You said when you know your future. Yes, and we also live with the like very human fears around or stories or whatever, right? So like there's this deep sense of knowing. And when I first got started in coaching, that is like that I just felt like I want to work with people who feel like they are busting at the seams with potential. They can feel the bigness, but they don't know what to do with it. Or they don't know how to make it happen, right? Like that is how I felt. I knew I was destined for greatness. I knew there was something like big and amazing inside, and I wanted help birthing it out into the world. And there were a lot of people selling me things on how to birth it out into the world. The interesting thing is, I now understand that just about everyone on the planet feels that way, right? Like it's not just me. It's not just a super ambitious, like it's literally just about everyone feels that way, which I think is amazing. Gina Maria is raising her hand, being like, me, I feel that way. And this idea that you know your future. So for me, that is where, as you were talking and saying, you know your future, two phrases came up for me. One is like, that's what religion calls faith. And two, this phrase that I use all the time, which is I believe in truth regardless of circumstances. And that's faith as well, right? The truth is like my imagined future, the one that feels good, the one that feels right, not like whatever I've been told or all that. Anyways, I'm saying this because that has been quite a journey for me. That has been a journey of, I would say it's a journey of faith, but really it's about learning to trust myself, learning to trust my connection to my higher self. Yeah. Anyways, if you need to share anything about, if you need to share any of my dirty laundry, go for it.
No, I don't think I need to share any of your dirty laundry. Well, first of all, Gina Maria, I love that tears are welling up for you, because when I told Carrie about this the first time, tears were welling up for her. And yesterday I had my crying day. And I guess I'll just talk about me for another minute. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. I feel like I have a very pragmatic approach to this topic because it's just how I've lived. And I love that. It's simple. It's clear. I don't try to make anyone take my truth on as their own. I love you finding your own truth and your own words and all of this. And I think I have a slightly different approach than most other spiritual teachers out there, which I've always loved. And I've never quite let myself be super vocal about any of it. I've just kind of been like the bystander, giving a little bit of my take on it. And I just feel like that hesitancy is gone now that I have my container. And so it just feels amazing to also have been recognized by all of those other teachers and to become friends with them and interview them and be in their space and now be able to like just feel so much more embodied and integrated in that. And so I think this feeling of like, okay, I feel like I'm busting with potential. I feel like there's so much in the world for me. I feel like this is my destiny, and whatever way you can access that. For me, it was like a vague feeling, a powerful vague feeling. I didn't see exactly how it would come about. For you, you might have visions, you might see yourself in a certain way. But I just want you to know that, again, living in the moment, meditating, and keeping the possibility alive is what helped me find this moment. And so it wasn't even like I had to be a different person to get here. I just had to be a clearer person to get here. And I did that through all the means and ways that we have access to every day. And the other thing, I guess, that helped me, I guess, fill out this potential is, oh wow, it just like left my brain. Isn't that funny? What was I even going to say? Oh, focus. Focus. Knowing that everything we put our attention on every single day adds up. The more attention you put on your own goals, your own dreams, your own self, your own clarity, your own happiness, that makes a huge difference in what your life turns out to be, long term and short term. And it's funny. I a lot of times keep my big ideas to myself because I don't want to be deterred from other people's reactions. But I've gotten to the point where it doesn't faze me at all what anyone else has for me. Like, I called my mom yesterday and I told her about it, and she was like, "Oh, are you sure?" And all this stuff. And I was like, she was trying to get me to say that it's okay if it doesn't happen. And I was like, I don't need to say that. Like, there's not a piece of me that knows this isn't going to happen. And, she's trying to protect me. And I gave my sister I just texted her the name of the institute, and she was like, took her all day to reply. And then she's like, "Oh, that kind of sounds like a cult." And I was like, okay. Like, it was just so funny. And then of course she came back with something more positive. But there was a time when I would feel really discouraged by any negativity around an idea. I would put it out in the world like, "Oh no, what if people don't like it?" And I'm not there anymore. And that's just because I've been focusing so much on my own sense of validation, because we have that, right? We're just like philosopher Archelaus knew, we're all playing the hot and cold game, right? If we are warmed up by our own feelings, if we are excited, if we are enlivened, if we are heated from ourselves, that's a yes from all of us, from our source, right? If we're getting some coldness, if we're putting it out there and a breeze would knock us off, that's not a good sign, right? And so we need to find that validation inside of us. And if it's not there, then that's not the idea for us. So I just figured I would add that, because I guess multidimensional living, we are talking about our potential, because that's part of it. Part of that is embodying more of our higher dimensional self. And we do that by aligning, feeling our own truth, living our own life, and climbing up that ladder.
And because this has come up in my mind several times, I'm going to say it to you, which is I think that they're also, you talked about it not being ready and you like being aligning with it, and all of that is true. And you turned 40, and there's something magical and powerful. And I don't know what it is, but turning 40, we tend to, at least as women, drop baggage. Like, just be like, God, I've been carrying this for too long. It is heavy. F it. I'm 40. I'm putting it down. And you did that. You did so much of that this year. And yeah, I don't want to let that go unnoticed, because I too, in my 30s, in my 20s, felt like you, like, I'm going to be successful. And my friend and I were just talking about our high school reunions, and like how the 10-year reunion was such like a comparison fest, right? Like everyone trying to prove to each other how amazing they were. But by the 20-year reunion, which at that point we were almost 40, everybody just wanted everyone to be happy, right? My husband's coming up on his 30-year reunion now, so I'm excited to see. But I do think that there is something to be said for, in this human timeline, growing into it, right? Like getting to an emotional age of being able to receive it. So there you are.
Yes. I love it. And, Gina Maria, I love that, finding our multidimensional centers. I'm kind of going back and forth between institute and center in my mind, honestly, because I love the word center, but it feels more like a physical location, which it will be. But also, I love institute just because AI, like aligned income, intimate alien, intuitive art. My life is filled with IAs and AIs. So, yeah, I don't know what we're exactly going to land on, but Carrie and I both received institute. And I kind of love that. And especially because, if you guys know, so this is part of my unfolding. Over the last year, I've been obsessed with getting a master's degree and eventually a PhD, because I've always known I would. I've always known I would do higher education. My sister as well. It's not part of our family lineage. My sister and I are the first to go to college. My parents didn't go to college. So it's just kind of like, okay, well, we're creating an institute, and that makes sense. And we will get our higher degrees, and maybe this institute will be an accredited university. I don't know. Like, there's so many pathways that this can go. And I got out of the shower yesterday and I was like, oh, we're advancing the art and science of multidimensional living. I love that. So yesterday I looked up, how do you get accreditation as a higher learning institute? Like, so much is all landing at once, and I'm just sorting it out, and I'm not pushing any of it, but I'm really open to what this is becoming. Gina Maria likes institute. I love it.
And that's how you do it. That's how you live multidimensionally, you guys. Like, for all the things that we talk about. And I mean, Rachel, there's so much. Like, now that we're deciding, okay, we have the Archelaus Institute and what it will become, like, hi, you guys, there's so much. There's psychic development. There is the aligned up level. There's Rachel's publishing committee. Like, there's so much that now suddenly land. They've already been here. All of it already exists. Like, literally, not just sometimes we say it already exists, but like it's not here on the physical plane. Like, for real, all of this already exists. Much more will exist, but it suddenly like has landed, and we can feel it, and you can feel it. That is what is cool. And I agree with Gina Marie. I think it is an institute, and there's a center, because that's where we all gather. So
I know, I love that. I just felt that too. I was like, oh, it's both.
Yeah. So we're fine with both. And Guillaume, you turned 45 this month. Start enjoying it. That's your job. That's your birthday homework. Start enjoying it. Enjoy 45. Enjoy halfway through your 40s. Enjoy like being a grown-up who gets to play. Enjoy where you live. Enjoy what you get to do. Enjoy that you get to hang out with us. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. That's your homework for your 45th year.
Oh, I will add to that. But yes, Gina Maria, I know when you said center, you meant spiritual centers, but I just loved how like a center could be a physical location, and it's our center, of course. And the Edgar Casey Institute. Yes. 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 I've never been there. And you know, his stuff is a little he's great. I'm really glad what his legacy is. But I remember I got a book of his once and I never read it because it just kind of felt kind of heavy, which is the point of all of this, right? Like there are so many people who've laid the path for this way of living, and it can be updated and simplified and demystified. And that's what I hope to do.
That makes me think of how Abraham talks about the Seth books, right? Like kind of the same. Like they felt like, okay, the Seth books really laid the groundwork for the work that they're doing and the next level of people who are able and willing to receive. And that is how Rachel and I feel about, there's lots of places. I know there's like the Omega Institute and there's the Chopra Center. Like there's lots of places like this that already exist. And they've laid the groundwork for this next unfolding, which is Archelaus.
Exactly. And there's different places for different people. I love it. So yeah, the more the merrier. And enjoy. Right. So the last module of our aligned income class is all about enjoying, because that's how you receive. Dina also highly talked about enjoying. Okay, so here's this person, this amazing human being who's doing all of these amazing things, really loving her life to the most, passes on, and then her big takeaway, her big clarity from having given up all the resistance of being alive, getting everything that she's ever wanted, was to enjoy your life. I really took that to heart. Carrie and I also did this letter process where we got this from an Abraham segment. This man wrote a letter thanking the universe for delivering all the things he's ever wanted. And he wrote this letter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so wonderful. And then he was like, okay, that's all done. So now for the next 30 days, I'm just going to enjoy myself. And everything on the letter came true. And so there's this really strong theme of enjoying yourself, because that puts you in the receiving mode. It matches you with the vibration of what you wanted, and that lets it come in. And so even before I started meditating a lot more, I was enjoying myself every day. What do I want to do today? What would I most enjoy doing right now? And that's really helped me get here too. So do what feels good to you, which is not a new statement, but it's one that we repeat all the time because that's what works. If you can't enjoy yourself now, you won't be able to match the vibration of what you want, and you won't be able to get that. And so, yeah, give it up. Give up the fight.
And that has been my process, you guys. So I want to tell you that I mean, when I started down this path and I first started seeing Rachel, and it was so interesting when I first started down this multidimensional living path. I was someone who, like, before I think I became a life coach initially, I had probably read like Ask and It Is Given. So like I was dipping my toe. I was also reading I would go to the library and books would find me. That's what was happening. And I was interested that the kinds of books I was finding me, like sometimes it was Abraham, sometimes it was Joel Osteen, sometimes it was, but it was all sort of saying the same thing, which is like, you're more powerful than you think, right? And your life is meant to be enjoyed. And these were ideas that resonated on the inside so strongly because, God, that sounds amazing, right? That sounds amazing. Yes, please. But the process of allowing myself to do it was hard work. Now, it didn't have to be hard work. I know that now. But sometimes I still make it hard work. But I'm saying that because it was so worthwhile. And I know a lot of the names in the chat right now. And I know that for some of us, it has been hard work to enjoy, honestly, like learning to relax and learning to enjoy. I had psychic after psychic after psychic after psychic say, play more. And I was like, no. No, I don't see the value in play. So I'm saying this to you because learning to live multidimensionally, I was living multidimensionally before. I was just making it really hard for myself. But learning to enjoy was a process for me. And it took enjoying little moments, enjoying, like, I couldn't enjoy a whole day at first. I couldn't let myself like do whatever I wanted at first, right? It took practice. And I'm just saying this to anybody who needs to hear it. It's worth practicing. It is worth practicing. It is worth, that's why you're here. That's why you're listening, right? Is because it resonates with you. You want that. It sounds amazing. And it's not just for Rachel and it's not just for me. It's for anybody. Sounds so weird. It's for anybody who's brave enough to want to like relax and enjoy. I'm not sure when that became like a brave thing, but at least the where I live, and I know that Gina Maria said this too, like she's surrounded by other people who don't get this. It is brave. It is a brave thing to be like, to say it out loud to your family and be okay with them not getting it. It's brave to know deeply and to allow yourself to know, to write it down and be like, well, cool, that's handled. I get to enjoy myself for a month or forever. That's brave. And so be brave enough to live multidimensionally because you're not alone. You got me, got Rachel, got the other people in the chat.
And you have yourself. Like, okay, first of all, I want to say thank you, Gina Maria, for being a channel member. It really means a lot to us. If you are interested in being a channel member, you can click the join button below and learn more about it. You can also support us with a super chat or a super thanks or whatever. Sign up for our programs. It really helps us out. And also, I had a really interesting meditation this morning. So with all of this going on, I've been facing my limiting beliefs more, because when you want more, you create a bigger gap that you got to go through, all the things that, you don't believe it's going to happen. So been meditating more, enjoying more to get through that. And so this morning I laid down on my couch and I was thinking about all of this and getting really excited. But then I was like, okay, excitement's great, but I need nothingness, right? I need no thought for a little while to like reset what's going on. And so I had 4 or 5 minutes left on my timer. And so I just laid down and it was really cool. I got to a very quieted place, but then I started to feel my breathing change, which is what happens when I'm really connecting with my higher self. My breathing changes, I relax more. I feel a swirling feeling in my body. And then I feel this swirling feeling. First of all, it feels very loving. It feels like a hug. It smiled at me. Like I could feel this swirl move into a face and move into a smile. And it was just such a beautiful feeling and experience. Something that is very atypical. Usually it's more of just an integrated feeling, more of a relaxing feeling, and it can feel really lovely, but it doesn't feel like an animated being. But that was my higher self giving me what I needed in the moment, which was I'm with you. And that's going to make me cry, because when you can really know that you are with you, that you are a gigantic being with limitless potential, then you're much more apt to go after what you want, and you're much more apt to do the work to lay aside those limiting beliefs because they're so trivial in comparison to you. And your higher self knows that. Your higher self knows how to get you around those. So it's a really worthwhile connection to make, even if it's not an animated smile all the time, right? It's like, it's not for me. But when you need it, it will be there. And when you allow it, it's certainly there.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do something Rachel doesn't know that I'm doing. So, and I actually, you have the ability to write in the chat, Rachel, but I do not. So just know that. But that feeling that you're describing, many people have described that feeling of that merge, that like embrace from higher self through one of the meditations that I offer. So I'm just going to tell you where to find it. It is called a future self meditation. So it's not exactly the same, but I think those of you who, if it speaks to you, do it. If you go to carrieroldan.com/future self, I'll guide you through a meditation that might help find that exact same feeling. But trust yourself. You'll know.
Is future self one word?
Yes.
Okay. I put it in the chat.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome. And yes, Gina Maria, we have our backs. We do. We really, really, really do. There's never a time when your higher self is looking away from what you want. It's always embracing you and what you want at the same time. So you have relentless positive momentum. Always, always, always happening.
So can we talk about that for a minute in terms of like multidimensionally? I know we're just about out of time, but Gina Maria, you bring this up. You have your back, right? We have our own back. Early on, you said you are currently existing in lots of different dimensions. I was going to use the phrase planes of reality, but either way, right? You're existing in all the places right now. And it makes me think of like all the movies I've ever seen where like, I'm thinking about Harry Potter, where like there's this, his future self affected something that wouldn't have happened if blah, blah, blah. Like there's this whole time paradox thing. But can you talk to me about the realness of that? About how I'm leading me always?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is pretty relevant. So Corinne shared that there's an Einstein quote I like. The only reason for time is so everything doesn't happen at once. Yeah, we're here to live out this feeling of linear, right? Because pretty much everywhere else, dimensionally, we're existing in the now, and that's all we have. Meaning we understand that everything is instant, everything is synchronous, everything is done, and yet the universe is still expanding. So I don't know how well I can internalize that, other than catching glimpses of it and feelings of it through Intimate Alien and connecting with other higher dimensional beings. But we're in a really cool platform here to have the experience of linear time. But like we're saying, we're also multidimensional. So we're not cut off from the now, from the instant. So a lot of times we can feel that. And this is just our pleasure, our preference. So before we come into this lifetime, we can look at a general view of the whole. What are our exit points? What themes do we want to take a look at and live into? What major obstacles do we want to put in our way to enhance things and spice things up? And so a lot of times, there'll be, famous rappers, like, I'm going to die young, and then they die young, or people will know. Or people will know, like they'll meet their love and it'll be love at first sight and they'll be married forever or whatever. Like we have that knowing of the future all the time, but also the future was sort of there before we came into it. Now, the cool thing is that we are the current point of focus, and vibrationally, we still have control. So nothing is asserted onto us. We're not locked into anything that we don't want to happen if we can become good at managing our vibration, because that's the lever that we have to pull here on this plane. So everything's connected and we're in charge of everything, but also because there is only this one moment and everything is done, we can know ahead of time and we can set things up ahead of time.
I want to say this is the last thing I'm going to say on this, but you just said there is only this moment and everything is done. And I've been reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which it basically just reinforces that, like kind of saying, yeah, but what we tend to do is in each moment reinforce our past.
Mm-hmm.
What if in each moment we just lived in the feeling, yawn, of enjoyment, of our potential, of the feeling that we're asking for? What would happen then?
Yeah. Really good things. Really good things. And yes, that was Joe Dispenza's book. Is. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I went to his website the other day because you brought up the book, and I just bought a sweater that looks like his book cover, and his word up on top now is unlimited, which I loved. So I think humanity, these people who are tapped in, are moving in this direction of really focusing on the unlimited part, which is wonderful. And I'm excited. I'm just excited for where we all are and what we're all interested in, and also the fact that the majority of the population is not interested in this stuff at all, which is totally fine too. They don't need to be, right? We're here for our own journeys.
Yeah, I'll leave that alone, but I'm like, why aren't they interested in this? This is the coolest thing ever.
Well, I'm not really into crowds, so I'm totally fine being with all of you.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thanks for basking in this with Rachel and I. Thanks for Rachel and me, with me and Rachel, not Rachel and I. I do not appreciate bad grammar. So just thank you for being a part of this and for lending your energy and excitement, enthusiasm, and anticipation to this. It's super validating and we feel it. We already know we're on the right track, but like super validating.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is my favorite topic, so we'll talk about it more. If you have anything you want us to go into further, just let us know. And be on the lookout for more information about the Archelaus Institute of Multidimensional Living, because more is coming. And thank you for coming today. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you soon.